On this episode of the Oklahoma Breakdown with Hiker and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino, it's OU Texas week, baby. Let's go. We give you what we're watching for in the game. Fozzy Whittaker joins us to tell us more about the Longhorns. Then we preview the best games of week 7 of college football, and we give you our winners and losers of the week. Please download and subscribe to the podcast, rate it 5 stars, and write us a good review. Follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search Oklahoma Breakdown on any of those, and you'll find us. All right, our man Michael Hosty will kick this thing off. It's time for the Oklahoma Breakdown. It's a beautiful Wednesday, October 9th, and you're listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown with Hiker and Lehman, presented by Riverwind Casino. Riverwind is Oklahoma City's premier casino experience, and there are so many reasons why Riverwind is consistently voted OKC's #1 casino, but it all starts with their amazing variety of gaming thrills and excitement. Riverwind's beautiful award-winning environment plays host to more than 2,800 of the latest electronic games with a huge selection of table games, including blackjack match roulette, and Teddy's favorite, craps. No matter what your game, Riverwind has it in spades and hearts. And to learn more about their gaming promotions and entertainment options in the month of October, all you got to do is visit riverwind.com. Riverwind Casino, good times, great rewards. Ted, it is the most wonderful week of the year. Let's go, friend. Come on, baby.
It
Come on.
is. It is. It's exciting times. This is it's crazy. Texas #1, first time in 40 years. And I mean, I think they're all gonna feel this way for us this year, but very pivotal football game for Oklahoma.
Definitely. I think you just got to go out there and play well.
Yeah,
If you play well and you win the football game, fantastic, ideal. But I think everyone just wants to see this team go out there and play well.
put a full game together.
And if you do that, you're going to give yourself a great chance to win the game. But the reality of the situation is, and I wore my Texas Sucks shirt.
They
I've,
do.
I've got it on. But this is a damn good football team that OU's about to play. There's just no way around it. Now, it is not a team without flaws, but I'm of the opinion that this is by far the best team that OU has played this season.
Yeah, I agree.
And
No,
that's not a shot at Tennessee. It's just Texas looks very balanced as a football team, and there aren't really holes on either side of the ball for them.
I agree. I don't think there's. I mean, there's stronger points on their team than others, but like, there's no weaknesses. Right? Every feels like every position group is incredibly solid. Now, I think some position groups have been tested more than others, um, but they're just incredibly solid top to bottom, kicking game included. Um, just like a well coached, well oiled machine.
Yep. All right, let's get into what we're watching for. But make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. We have a new In the Weeds up on there breaking down Texas's RPO stuff and why it's so difficult to defend and some of the keys that or some of the things that OU is going to need to do to defend it at a high level. So go check that out on YouTube. Ted, OU's defense versus Texas's offense. What are you watching for?
There's a lot of stuff. They do quite a bit of stuff. Um, you know, I think just generally speaking, um, Isaiah Bond's the best player. To me, he stands out above the crowd. They're solid at running back, but they're not like you don't see anyone at running back that you're necessarily like, oh my God, like we've got to really corral this guy. Solid playmakers. They use them out of the backfield in the passing game, screens. Um, Seem to be solid blockers, but they're not leveling linebackers in the blitz game. Solid. To me, seven is the guy. Critical moment in the game, fourth down, uh, big third downs where you got to convert. Seven's who they want to go to. So you got to do a really good job on him. Um, in the passing game, this hasn't really been a problem for us, but it's something that I've noticed. They love to attack anytime you give them a cushion at the line of scrimmage, they love to attack that with just quick stop routes, with smoke routes, with just real quick hitters, get the ball out of the quarterback's hand and try and let their wide receivers go make a play. So I even if you're in a coverage that calls for a cushion, you got to disguise it a little bit before you just go line up at 10 yards deep and give a giant cushion there. Um, this is interesting that I've noticed studying Sark. He has what I call a formation du jour. Okay. In every game, there's a unique formation that's not really something that you see most teams line up in. Maybe he loves trips. A lot of their stuff is out of trips. Um, Maybe it's a bunch with a different spacing. Maybe it's a different wing look. Whatever it is, there's going to be a formation that they have that you really haven't seen a whole lot of before. And they're going to have a new running concept out of that formation. They are also going to throw a screen, whether it's a tight end screen or a running back screen. They're going to do it out of this unique formation. They're also going to have a big play action off of this new, whatever that new run concept is. They're going to have a big play action off of it. And they're also going to have a misdirection, end around something. And it always kind of unfolds the same. They present you the formation. They do their new running concept out of it. Okay. And it's usually nothing big, but it's enough to get everyone's attention. Look, hey, we haven't seen that before. And the formation is unique enough to where you notice it the next time it comes up, right? So everyone says, oh, here's that formation again. Here comes that new running play, and they'll hit you with the play action, or they'll hit you with the screen off of it, or they'll, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like he does that in every game in some form or another, which I think is really smart, but I think he does it too much. So you kind of like my attention is up on it. But I think he's going to have something like that in this football game. A lot of the passing concepts, well, let's start with the run. A lot of the run concepts you see, you'll see some counter stuff like you do pretty much with everyone now, and they'll run it out of some different presentations. They do some outside zone stuff, and I think they're really good at it. Would you call it a true outside zone?
I think they run stretch, and I think Helm the tight end. I think he's really good on the front side of stretch in those combinations, whether it's with Banks the left tackle or Williams the right tackle. They run stretch and they run it multiple ways. They'll run it out of 11 personnel. They'll run it out of 12. They'll do it to where they man the backside and just stretch the front side and kind of naturally create a giant gap. They'll just full zone stretch and they do a nice job on the backside. They have so much variety in their run game, Ted. It's gap scheme stuff, it's zone, it's pin pull. They have a little bit of everything. Like their run game, if I was an offensive coordinator, their run game is how it would look if I was an offensive coordinator. Just a little dash of everything. Maybe you're not majoring in something each and every game, but they have so much that they can throw at you. It's just a lot to prepare for.
Yeah. No, it is. And I like the outside zone stuff because it gets the backers moving. I mentioned the counter where you get the puller and you'll get the tight end coming across. And they also do, G it where you got the puller on the front side I call it tug C, where you have the front side guard and the center coming around on the front side, kind of an outside zone type of play. They'll do that, and then you get all enamored with the pullers, and they'll use those guys in traditional play action pass too. Well, they'll pull the guard, and the guard's got the end guy on the. Everyone's kind of coming down. Pull the guard where it looks like it's the counter or a gap scheme run, but the guard's responsible for the end guy on the line of scrimmage, just enough to give the backers a little bit of pause, and then they love to attack these deep 20-yard curls. You'll get the 20-yard curls. You'll get the under with the deep follow behind it, trying to clear the middle of the field. There's some really good pass concept stuff, but the play action and how they build off of the run game is really good. Um, and we talked about a lot of the RPO stuff with the in the weeds, and that's a big part of what they do. You know, a lot of it is their traditional run stuff. You know, the outside zone, or they do, I don't know, call it a dive or a belly. It's kind of like our inside zone play where the footwork is just straight ahead by the back. Quarterback's quick to the side, and he's got vision wherever they're going with the RPO. They do a lot. They like a lot of the lateral stuff, but they will, if you have a cushion and they're running an RPO, they will attack that cushion like crazy. Let's see, tight end screen. I mentioned that, and they'll run it out of different formations. Running back screen, they'll run. Like they like out of empty. They like to run a lot of bait stuff. Like they'll bait, like you'll full up push bait, and then a dig in behind, trying to get the backers to take the cheese underneath. Um, they'll run some tunnel screen stuff to number 7. I think that's who they like on that. But really, all of their wideouts are pretty solid. But to me, he's head and shoulders above the rest. But all of those guys could really go. Um, they like to work the running back and the single side wide receiver on the backside of trips. You'll get like a cell route. You'll have like a crack alignment tight to the core, back offset, and they'll run cell out of that where the back's to the flat, trying to attack the flat and hook player over there. That's a really tough concept. They really like to go to 85 out of empty. Like when they're in down and distances with long uh, 3rd and 15, 3rd and 20, they like to go empty. They clear everything out and dump the check down to 85, and everyone's kind of blocking on that. I've seen that a couple of times, but I don't know. I really like the overall concept and philosophy of the offense, and you sprinkle in some really good players at all levels. I mean, Banks is living up to it this year from what I've seen. He looks really good. He's getting a lot of movement in the run game. Um, like I said, I mean, the backs to me are probably like Bond. I mean, he looks like first round wide receiver type of player. Banks looks like a first round offensive lineman. The backs, I think, is where they're lagging a little bit personnel wise.
Quarterback is clearly a big story coming into this game. I think one of the big questions, it sounds like it's going to be yours. One of the big questions, just how healthy is he? And is it crazy to think you'd rather see Ewers than Manning with how good Manning has looked and with how dynamic he can be with his legs?
I don't know. I got to tell you, the more I've watched him, he's good. He throws a great ball. I mean, both he can run better than Ewers, and he'll create some stuff with his legs. He ain't close to like a Michael Hawkins. He's solid, but he's kind of a straight line guy. He's got some solid speed. But I think he's more likely to make the big mistake in this game than Ewers is. I mean, and I'm saying that after Ewers turned it over. What do you have? 3 turnovers last year, a couple of fumbles, interception. Um, I think he'd be more likely to make the big mistake, but you know, Ewers is like he can't create as much with his legs. I don't know. I think it's either or. I mean, I guess
You're probably choosing the redshirt freshman that's only started a couple games to play
right.
against,
That's
even though he's as athletic.
right.
The I think there could be some interesting scenarios in this game with Ewers because he's not a statue. He's over these last couple seasons, he's done a nice job picking up key first downs, right? Taking off and converting first downs, extending drives when they need them. But I do wonder, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, he takes off and he's about to meet Stutzman or Kip Lewis at the sticks. Like, how's he feeling physically? Like, how is he going to finish those runs? Is he feeling good enough to where, hey, it's a huge 3rd down, got a chance to go get it, but I'm going to have to try to lower my shoulder? Like, how is he feeling and how will he react in that type of situation? I, I don't know.
Yeah.
But a couple key first downs in a situation or two like that could be a massive difference in this football game. So that's where the only question I have for yours is just where's he at health wise? I think he's good, can make all the throws. He's not going to turn your lights out as a runner, but he will convert first downs. He can do everything you need to do to extend drives with his legs. But I just don't know, what's his mentality when it comes to getting hit and putting his body on the line in this game. What's that mentality for him going to be?
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. And I mean, that really tells the story to me is we did a good job of affecting Ewers last year in the pocket. When he got outside the pocket, turned it over. Um, that if you don't get to Quinn Ewers, he will pick you apart. He could throw. He's got great touch. Throws a really good deep ball, accurate. But if you get to him, he's prone to make mistakes and turn the football over. And I mean, this isn't some Quinn Ewers thing. Like most quarterbacks, if you get them under pressure quite a bit, become average really quickly. All of that to say, I think that our defense can have a really good day against them. I do. I think that I'd like to get your opinion. I think our defense is quite a bit better than they were a year ago, and I don't think Texas offense is as good.
I agree with that. And that was a really good offense last year.
Yeah, the skill talent was.
I mean, look at
Running back is probably the biggest factor. They were excellent at running back.
that and AD Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, JT Sanders, Jordan Whittington. Those are all NFL players. Like,
Yeah,
and I'm with you. Isaiah Bond may be better than all of those guys. I've been really, really impressed with him. I just think the key is you have to mitigate the damage when they run the football and throw the RPO stuff.
mm-hmm.
If you don't, they're going to go up and down the field and score points. And maybe that's what this game looks like for OU. Maybe they move the ball and it comes down to, hey, how many field goals can you force? That's very possible. And
Execute the red zone. Yeah,
remember, last year, they really struggled in the red zone. And they struggled in the red zone in this game.
mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what it comes down to is red zone defense for Oklahoma. But I really believe the key is slowing down the run game and the RPO stuff. Because if you can do that, the play action stuff's not nearly as effective. and they got to get more to their traditional drop back game where things get more predictable.
Yep.
And that's kind of the formula for that you're going for every game as a defense, but especially this one with a team that has this much variety. It, if they can go to anything and feel like they're succeeding with everything, you're screwed.
Yep.
And I also what you mentioned the screen game. I think Steve Sarkisian is the best screen designer in all of college football.
Yep.
I think they're the best screen team in all of college football. They throw maybe more screens than anyone else in college football and just all kinds of different ones. I'm not just talking the RPO bubble stuff at the line of scrimmage. Like they've got running back screens, tight end screens. They're very creative with what they do, and they do it more than probably anyone in the country. So
Yeah.
it's a really well designed offense with a bunch of good players.
Yep. But it is.
But Texas sucks, dude.
But Texas
Yeah.
sucks. No, but
Yeah.
I honestly believe that like I really like the matchup for our defense. I do.
What do you think makes the most sense? We've seen this defense kind of have two different personalities. I, for one, think this is a game where you got to play an attacking style of defense. Maybe you disagree with all the RPO stuff that they do, Ted, but and I know that went really, really well against Tennessee, but I think if you line up in that style, that Texas will be able to run the football against you. I hope I'm wrong, but I think they're better along the offensive line than Tennessee by quite a bit.
They are. Um, I think they'll mix it up. I think you'll have some. I think you have some 3-man stuff um, against some third and long, against 11 personnel, 12 personnel. Maybe they go more of the 4-down looks and are a little more aggressive. I don't know, but I'm with you. I do think that they're going to try and dial up the heat quite a bit. And you got to have a great balance between when are you bringing it, whenever you're pulling back, and trying to disguise between the two. But I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing. But I like the matchup. I do.
Anything else? OU's defense against a very, very solid Texas offense.
I don't think so.
It is interesting. I'm with you. This offense for Texas is not as good as it was a year ago.
It's not as explosive. Any guy on that team could hit you on anything quickly, and they haven't hit that gear yet. Anyways,
Let's hope they don't hit it on Saturday.
no doubt, no doubt.
They're still the offense is very good. Saying
Yep.
they're not as good as last year's offense is not some type of slap in the face. That was a really, really good group
It
that they
was.
had a season ago. Let's talk about the other side of the ball. What are we watching for from OU's defense? Excuse me. OU's offense against Texas's defense. But first, hitting the highway. Remember to stop at Love's Travel Stops. And I know all you guys are driving down to Dallas. Stop at Love's, people. Come on. You can't miss the heart of the highway. And with the Love's app, you can also save big. How big? 10 or 15 cents big. Save 10 cents per gallon on gas and 15 cents per gallon on auto diesel. Save with the Love's app today and be welcomed by clean faces, clean places, and friendly faces. Goodness. Certain conditions may apply. See loves.com for details.
Oh, you tailgaters, listen up. We are now officially in the premium conference of college football, and you expect a premium product on the field and on the grill. That's why you need Didier Ranch's steak burgers to take your tailgate to the next level. Proudly raised in Oklahoma for over 120 years, premium beef this good is hard to come by. Go to DidierRanch.com. That's DIDIER ranch.com. Use promo code Oklahoma15 for 15% off your order. Didier Ranch, tradition plays better, and tastes better.
And we are brought to you by Simple Modern, the official drinkware partner of the OU Sooners. This season, Simple Modern is creating unique drinkware for each home game. So get your exclusive refillable Sooners cup at any of the last 3 home games. And when away games have you cheering at home, get your OU gear at simplemodern.com or Amazon's Simple Modern shop, along with more than 100 partnerships with colleges and professional sports teams. With 10% of all Simple Modern profits going to charity, many in Oklahoma, you're also helping Oklahomans off the field. Simple Modern. It's good everywhere. Things to watch for OU's defense. Why do I keep saying that? Is it because we're recording late at night when we
Probably.
normally? I'm getting old. This is what happens when you get old, people. Things to watch for OU's offense versus Texas's defense. Thanks, Ted. Thank you. Thank you for the support. There's no other way to say it other than Texas has kept things extremely simple on defense. Preparing for their defense is simple. Blocking their defense is not. They got good players. They are a base 4-2-5 team. They'll play an even front. They'll get in the 4-down odd spacing with a guy over the center and both tackles, and then an outside linebacker body standing up on the edge. No one in the country blitzes less than the Texas Longhorns. 132nd in blitzes per dropback. They just don't bring a lot of pressure. I think they don't slant or angle the front a lot. They line up. They disguise some things in the back end with the way that they do some of their rotations. But they line up and they trust their guys to win their battles. That's how they play defense, or at least that's how they've played defense up until this point in the season. And now I am interested to see how they line up to some of OU's 12 personnel stuff. In Michigan's bigger personnel packages, they played 3-4 defense with Lole 99, Collins 95, and Broughton 45 all in the field. They kind of went big on the interior 3 of a 3-4 style with Sorrell 88 and Moore 8 at the outside linebacker positions. And they played that very well. Michigan could not move them at all. I mean, they completely whooped Michigan up front. Mm-hmm. So the defensive line is solid, man. They're stout. They don't get moved off the football. It's not as disruptive as it was a year ago, though, with Byron Murphy and Tavondre Sweat. There's not as many splash plays from the interior of the defensive line, although I think Vernon Broughton, 45, and Alfred Collins, 95, I think both of those guys are playing the best ball of their career. I do worry about 45. The power that he plays with, it could be a problem for our interior. He has really impressed me on tape. Like, he's taken a big leap from a year ago. But they really haven't played a good offense.
No.
So we haven't seen them challenged, but you can only play the teams that are on their schedule, and they have dominated inferior competition, Ted.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, and we're not bringing the highest powered offense we've ever had ourselves into the football game. So
I know that a lot of people were going, hopefully we can get a little healthier on the bye week, get some guys back. I don't know, man. I kind of think I'm to the point where unless I see someone that wasn't available against Auburn run out there on the first drive of the game, I'm just going to have to see. I'm just going to have to see it before I believe it. That's just where I'm at with it. I think the guys that we had against Auburn, it kind of feels like those are the guys that we're going to have available in this football game. And those guys have to go and play at a very high level and make plays.
I agree. I will say that I do expect the offensive line to be healthier. They were all available, but Jake Taylor was laboring the whole time. I mean, you got to imagine that he's going to be better. Is he going to be 100%? I don't know, but he's going to be better. And Hickman is still bothered by that ankle. And Troy Everett's had extra time. Do you think he plays somewhere in the interior? Is he still going to be a backup?
I I think they're going to roll with the five that played at Auburn. I really do. And if Troy's ready to go, I think you could see him get some snaps, right? Depending on how Hickman looks at center. I just they played their best game of the year against Auburn, and I expect it to be even better with the little rest time, and it has to be
Mm-hmm.
because I believe the key to this football game is them being able to run the ball and control time of possession. And I know that sounds crazy with some of the lopsided time of possession stuff that we have seen over these last couple years, but I just feel like it's got to be that way. Ted, it just has to be that you have to be able to run the ball and control the pace of the game if you want to win this football game. And I don't think running it against Texas is overly complicated. They do not play many heavy boxes. You know, when you're in 11 personnel and the tight ends in the core, you're going to get a 6-man box, or sometimes you're going to get a 5-man box. If anything, they play more light boxes than they do heavy boxes. And you just got to win at the point of attack. The offensive line, you have to win against their defensive line. You got to win against their linebackers. You got to be more physical. And it'd be awfully nice to change the math a little bit and get Michael Hawkins more involved in the run game. And that's one of the main things I'm watching for. You've had 2 weeks. We didn't see much of it against Auburn. You need to see more QB run game. You have to gain an advantage in the run game and run Hawkins more in this game. Whether that is you spread them out and you've got a 5-man box at times and you're running some creative, just 5-man box plays, QB trap, QB draw. I mean, simple things. Mississippi State scored on a QB draw. 5-man box or 6-man box. And the running back just led right on one of the inside linebackers. Quarterback ran right up the middle of the defense, touchdown. I mean, when you get those light boxes, you can zone it. You can just 5-man zone it. You can run fold schemes. You can run trap. You can get really, really creative. 6-man boxes, you can run all your read run game and try to buy a backside defender with Hawkins. But I have to imagine we're going to see some of that, Ted. It has to happen if they want to find more success in the run game against the defense that is as talented as Texas is.
Yeah, well, there's just no excuse. You've had extra time. What we've done has not been effective. Now, they've been limited personnel wise, so up to this point where I could understand, like, we don't have the capabilities to add anything else, but they're healthier on the offensive line. They've got to be able to find a couple of different avenues to try and run the football, some different wrinkles. And I'm with you. The quarterback run stuff is the easiest way to get that going. I'd be shocked, frankly, if we don't see a couple of new things.
Michigan had very little success running the football, but zone insert was a good play for them. And I think zone insert needs to be run quite a few times in this game. 3 to 5, maybe like 7 times. And I think the tight end should insert on Anthony Hill. He is an incredible athlete. When the dude sees the ball and could just run and make plays in space, it is fun to watch. But you got to test his physicality. You got to make him shock and shed and get off blocks. He's done that some, but he hasn't done it consistently. And you have to run the ball downhill at Anthony Hill and Binda there at inside backer. And because I think linebacker overall, these guys are not bad. Let me make myself clear. But I think their inside backers are the weakest point of their defense. 33-0. And I think you have to attack those guys. You have to make them get off blocks and make plays. And I think zone insert has, and multiple teams have done it. Multiple teams have had success with that play against them. So I'm expecting that to be a part of it. Counter, it was awful for Michigan, but somehow UTSA kind of made it work. Had a long touchdown run on it. But I say all of this stuff about the run game to say, like, there needs to be more variety. This is a defense that I believe the more you throw at them, the better results you'll have. Especially, with some of the things that they can miss at the inside linebacker position and some of the things that they can miss when it comes to what safeties in the run fit or not. But you got to keep them off balance. You got to throw a lot at them, and you got to be more violent. You got to be more physical. It is what it is. I don't think all of a sudden Texas is going to come out and slant and angle their front a bunch and throw a bunch of pressure, blitz a lot. I just don't think that's what they do this season.
Yeah.
I think they think they're going to be able to line up, do what they've been doing, and kick OU's ass. That's what I think they're thinking.
Yeah.
And it's up to Oklahoma's offensive line, tight ends, to take the fight to them. And if they do that, they should be able to find some success running the football. And this offense should be able to be a lot more balanced than we've seen it be. But if they lose that battle and Mike Hawkins has to drop back on 2nd and long and 3rd and long and throw it from the pocket all day long, that is not a great recipe for success, especially with OU's situation at wide receiver.
Yep.
It all comes down to winning the battle up front, man.
Yep. We cannot go backwards on first down. Penalties, tackles for loss. We have to be smooth and efficient. And I agree with you. I think I love playing simple defense. Some people take that as some type of shot at somebody whenever they play simple. Usually means that the more simple you are, the better your players are. You're not trying to cover up holes with all this other stuff. But, I do think that keeping simple helps guys play fast whenever thinking gets in the way. And I think you can make things difficult on their linebackers, make them have to process some stuff and slow them down.
It's a must. I think that's, if you're looking for where you can create an advantage, I think a lot of window dressing and how it affects those two inside backers, I think that's a good way to try to create an advantage for you in the running game. Some pass game thoughts. I think they are excellent at corner. I've been a big Jahdae Barron fan for years. He's wearing 7 now instead of 23, and he's playing at a very high level. Malik Muhammad can really cover. These guys can really run. It's going to be a big challenge. And similar to what I said about their defense overall, I think they're going to feel very, very good about the matchup outside with their corners. What that will mean for the coverages they choose to play in this game, we'll see. Do they come out and play a bunch of one? Maybe. But I think that they'll continue to blend coverages the way that they have. I really do think they're just going to stick to not exactly what they've been doing, but they'll have a few game plan wrinkles here and there. But I think they're going to feel very comfortable coming into this game, doing what they've been doing from a coverage standpoint. Brennan Thompson needs to be a big factor in this game. He needs to be a big factor in that 12 to 15, 12 to 17 yard area. because he can run and he's been able to get open in some of those situations. This, for whatever reason, the ball has not found him in a lot of those. Whether that's deep overs, some of the dig routes, some of the comeback stuff, it just hasn't found him. Hasn't found him. But he can run away from guys on the crossing routes. Like he can do this stuff. I think that he needs to be a factor in this football game. Clearly, he's going to want to be a factor in this football game. He played at Texas. I mean, come on. But he's got the speed to play with these guys. And he's shown that speed on tape. It's all got to come together for him in this game. And I also think Bauer Sharp can be a factor. Mentioned Hill and Binda at inside linebacker. I don't think those guys are particularly great in pass coverage either. Some of their zone drop stuff it doesn't look crisp. And say what you want about Bauer Sharp's blocking, but the guy has done a nice job of getting open when he's out on routes, and he needs to be a big factor in the middle of the field. They have to attack that area of the field, and when it's there, Hawkins has to let it rip, man. You got to let it rip. That can't be a blind spot. You can't be scared of getting it in the middle of the field, and I know that young guy isn't. But when you see it coming open, you got to let it rip. Last thing on pass game thoughts, Michael Taffy at safety, got to test the guy, right? I mean, come on. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. But other than that, pass protection will be interesting. Colin Simmons is going to be a dude now. He's 11 coming off the edge. He's got some twitch to him, which is why don't go for the head fakes. Make him go through you. Make him bull you. Trey Moore, number 8, got a nice get off. He's not going to beat you with speed consistently. He wants to catch you leaning and counter inside. His inside counter is really good. Don't lean. Stay inside. Make him beat you with speed. Make him go through you. The interior guys, no one has displayed like just excellent pass rush moves. Collins 95 and Broughton 45. Those dudes are just big and physical, and they're going to try to go through your soul. Mm-hmm. I suggest not letting them. They don't have really an elaborate second and long or third and long package. And basically what they do is get in a variety of different bear fronts. They'll get in the overload front where they put 3 defensive linemen on one side. There'll be like a shade, a 5, and then 11. Simmons will be like in a spinner, kind of just floating around. Basically, all they want to do is create a one-on-one with the backside tackle and Trey Moore, number 8. They did that against Michigan to Michigan's right tackle, and my God, that young man wants to burn that film. Dude got abused, but it was clear that's who they wanted to attack because they were setting it away from him. They wanted to attack that guy. So if they feel like they're going to attack one of OU's tackles, you have to assume it's going to be Jake Taylor because of how many injuries he's been battling this season. You have to assume that they watch the film and look at him and go, hey, we got to attack this guy. But their second and long, third and long go-to is Bear. They bring Simmons 11 and then Hill 0 up, and they create 5 across the board. Now, those guys can be in different locations, but really, it's all the same. You're going 5 down to it. You're saying, hey, 5 down, 5-0. We got these 5 guys. Now, the key is set off the ball because twists are coming. And they've got a variety of them. Interior, they go 3-man. They've got a variety of twists out of that. And you have to set off the ball, give yourself some time to pass it all off. Got to be physical, snapping guys off. You got to knock guys across your buddy's face to make their lives easy. But That's what they do on second and long and third and long. It's bear with twists, or they'll get in bear and they'll drop one of those guys and only rush four. Or they'll get in bear and they'll drop both Simmons and Hill and they'll only rush three and they'll play deep zone coverage behind it. There's nothing elaborate going on here, Ted.
Mhm.
It is all, hey, this is what we do. We're going to come out, we're going to execute at a high level, and we're going to let our players be better than your players. Like I feel like that's their defensive mentality.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good mentality for the way the game is played currently in college. It's like we're going to sit back, two shell, give you a light box. We're going to take away all the RPO stuff, and let's see if you can run it against our defensive line and do it all the way down the field without, without missing a block or getting a penalty, and see if you can execute all the way down the field without giving any freebie RPO stuff and hitting these easy throw and catch routes for 20 yards every time. That's how
Yeah.
I play it.
They've they've given up very, very few explosive plays in the passing game. Like very, very few.
Yeah.
It would be awfully nice if the OU Sooners could have a few explosive plays in the passing game, but we have not seen a ton of that from OU's offense, and Texas's defense has given up very, very few of them.
Mm-hmm.
I would, I would like for that to change on Saturday.
Hopefully it does.
The only other thing I got is when they get in that bear look and they bring five, they bring all five of those guys. Binda at inside backer, he's got the back man to man out of the backfield. And could we see just an easy throw to the flat? And could we see an Oklahoma running back just make a guy miss and convert a big third down in that situation? It would bring me great joy if we could see that unfold. But other than that, you got anything else? What you've seen from their defense? They got good players.
Yeah.
Guys
I
play
think
hard,
you nailed it.
physical, play with good technique. They're good.
Yeah. I think you nailed it. Got to be solid up front. Got to find a way to run the football somehow. I mean, I think they're going to give us plenty of opportunities to do it. I mean, like I said, I I feel like the way I would play Oklahoma is exactly how I said a second ago. Here's the light box. See if you can run it on us. All the way, can you execute 12 plays all the way down the field? We've had a real trouble executing so far this year. So, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if that's the way they played it.
Yep, I'm with you. All right, let's get the color shot. We asked you guys the number one thing you'll be watching for in OU Texas. This first one comes from Ethan Winter. He says if the defense has a strong start like they did last year and puts the offense in a good position early and often, this thing could get interesting.
Have to. I mean, I think our defense is the best unit in the football game, followed by Texas's offense, Texas's defense, and then our offense. Um, in order for us to win the football game, our defense has to play really well. We have to win special teams, and our offense has to find a way to move the ball some and not turn the ball over and put us in really bad spots. If we can do those things, and I don't think it's unrealistic to say that that can happen, I think we got a chance to win the football game for sure.
This other one comes from Mr. Consistency.
Okay.
He says defense got to force 3 turnovers, and we need to score points off of them. Unless the offense has taken a gigantic leap in 2 weeks, I don't see us hanging with them in a normal game. Hoping I'm wrong, though. LOL.
What's a normal game? People turn the ball over 3 times all the time. I think that falls in a normal game. Uh, if you're saying a no turnover football game on either side, yeah, I think that we're going to have a hard time there. I do think though, and maybe I'm too optimistic on this. I do think that we should see the best version of our offense that we've seen all year. I know we're light on the talent, but our execution has been horrible. Penalties, untimely, drops. Uh, we didn't help Jackson Arnold out a lot with drops and stuff, but there's also been so much left out there by poor decision making. I mean, there's plenty of opportunity for our offense to move the ball. I don't think we're going to go put up a huge amount of points and yards, but if we just simply execute, do what we're supposed to do, I think there's points to be put up on the board.
I think if OU is going to win this game, it needs to be played in like the low 20s.
Yeah, I agree.
That's just how I feel. So we'll see. I can tell you right now, weirder things have happened. We just watched Vandy beat Alabama. Okay. Uh, Anyone that thinks they know how this game is going to go, I mean, none of us know, which is why it's so much fun.
That's right. That's right.
Let's learn a little more about the Longhorns from our buddy Fozzy Whittaker. But first,
Schwab Meat has been smoking the highest quality meats, hot dogs, and sausages in OKC since 1912. Go to schwabmeat.com to order any of Schwab's outstanding products and use promo code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over 75 bucks. Schwab dogs are iconic. I always keep it simple. Bun, dog, maybe a little mustard, maybe a little ketchup. The jalapeno cheddar smoked sausage is ridiculously good as well. Schwabmeat.com, code OKBreakdown for free shipping on orders over 75 bucks. Schwab Meat, the official hot dog of game day.
and three things matter in banking: service, service, and service. And First Fidelity Bank's commitment to exceptional service is more than a promise, it's their foundation. FFB has been by your side for over a century, and they're honored to be a part of your journey. Banking isn't about where you've been, it's about where you're headed. Open an account at an award-winning bank today at ffb.com. At First Fidelity Bank, we go where you go.
And head to the garage for hand smashed patties, butter toasted buns, and ice cold beer. It's the perfect spot to watch any big game. And with all the garage locations being open to 10 p.m. or later every night, it's the go-to late night spot. Visit eatatthegarage.com to find a location near you and order online from the garage in your neighborhood.
All right, here's Fozzy Whittaker. It is our pleasure to be joined by a Texas legend. Fozzy Whittaker is in the house. Longhorn Network, SiriusXM. You do everything, man. What's going on?
What is happening, fellas? I'm happy to be on the show. What a phenomenal weekend for football. We always know what's at stake. I'm sad I won't be in Dallas this weekend. So y'all make sure y'all get y'all fair share of funnel cakes and hot dogs and lemonade. Take it all in if you're able to go, because I'm gonna be missing it, unfortunately. But man, I can't wait for this weekend.
Hey, you guys are coming in number one in the country for it's been first time in almost 40 years, I think.
Yeah,
So that's got to be big.
I think so, man. It's Texas hasn't obviously been in this position in a lot of times, but we all know it don't matter what the rankings are coming into this weekend. It don't matter what the record is coming into this weekend. I mean, Texas could be winless, Oklahoma could be undefeated, and there's going to be a dogfight, and vice versa. If Texas was undefeated, Oklahoma winless, it's going to be a dogfight all the way to the end. So we can honestly disregard the rankings. We can disregard what has happened already early in the course of this season, because we know what's, I guess, the only different thing, which is what we're not used to for the most part, is that the kickoff is moved to a 2:30. So that might be a little different for a lot of people that are used to seeing the 11 a.m. Central kickoff. But other than that, man, getting kicked at 2:30, nothing else matters. It's all about going out there and representing.
Let's start with the offense. Fozzy, what is What is your expectation for the quarterback position in this game for the Longhorns?
Yeah, I think Quinn's going to be completely healthy, so he'll be back into the starting role. Steve Sarkisian has mentioned multiple times, even while Quinn was injured, that it was still his team once he's back 100% healthy. The beautiful thing about it is you have a backup like Arch Manning that's playing at an elite level, and having somebody that can come in spell of Quinn Ewers to the level of degree that Arch has been able to perform, especially against UTSA and even last week against Mississippi State. That was what you wanted to see from a top tier quarterback in that position to perform and do what he's supposed to do and expected to do. And I wouldn't even say he was expected to perform as well as he did, particularly in those two games. And you saw ULM, his first official start. It was very rocky. He looked like a first time starter in that game, but the bounce back that he had the following week, I thought he showed tremendous improvement, poise, was really clicking on all cylinders. But it's Quinn's team. Quinn's going to be healthy. He's going to be dialed in, ready to go. And I think having Quinn back is the true unsung leader of this team. And as this team goes, Quinn is going to be the one that they're going to have to rely on the most to be able to perform and make some of those big plays.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what exactly? I know he had like the ab or
The
oblique
oblique, yeah.
strain.
Yeah.
I've had it before. It hurt like hell for like 3 days, but then it was pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
are they worried about any type of re-injury or anything?
I'm sure that's always in the back of Quinn's mind and then back of Sark's mind as well as the training staff there. But ultimately, I believe Quinn could have played against Mississippi State. It might would have been uncomfortable in some moments, and obviously he wouldn't have wanted to gotten hit on it. And this is all my own personal opinion. I didn't go out to practice. I didn't have any inside information, so I don't know. I could just be blowing smoke. But I thought seeing him on the sidelines of the ULM game the week after he heard it, the way he was moving around, the way he got the team energized in the fourth quarter, he was even celebrating with some of the guys that scored in the end zone whenever they played against ULM. He looked like he was moving rather well, considering he had a strained oblique or that abdomen strain. So I figured being able to be safe and cautious, have an additional week of rest for him was probably going to be vitally important considering the road that's at hand moving forward. As you know, playing in Dallas, that game is going to be extremely physical. And then you backdoor play against Georgia at home, and then you go on the road to Vanderbilt. And we all saw what happens whenever you go to Nashville and you're not ready to play to the level that Vandy is playing at this time. So the schedule is going to toughen up, and it's all going to start Saturday. And I think ultimately being able to protect Quinn over the past couple of weeks and get him as healthy as possible has been the main goal, and I don't expect to see any limitations in his game whenever he steps on the field Saturday.
I know you always have an eye on the running back position, and you're always keeping close tabs on the running game for the Longhorns. What
Hmm.
have you liked? What have you not liked? Like what are your thoughts overall when you look at Texas's rushing attack up to this point in the season?
Yeah, just like almost any position, there are pros and cons. I think the running back room, which I touted as probably the deepest coming into the season, has performed, I would say, the worst out of all the position groups on the offense. And not because they've done anything terribly bad, but it's just because all the other positions have performed extremely well. And ultimately, the running backs have to be a little bit more consistent. I remember ULM is the game that I called, Texas against ULM. We go into production meeting with Steve Sarkisian and Lowell Galindo and I. We're asking questions about what more Sark wanted to see out of his offense. And the big thing that he spoke of was having more explosive runs. And whenever you got a guy like Jaden Blue, who's as dynamic and as shifty and as explosive as he is, he put that on display against Michigan. And we've seen flashes of it last year whenever he was able to insert himself after Jonathan Brooks goes down. Then you're expecting some of those big plays to happen at the running back position with the guy that electric and that explosive. But Texas hasn't been able to come by those big explosive runs throughout the course of the season. And I'm not quite sure if it's because the running backs aren't making enough guys miss. Obviously, the offensive line, they're doing their job. They're giving them holes. Yards per before contact is happening is positive. They're playing on the opposing side of the line of scrimmage. We're just not seeing the yak that we saw whenever Jonathan Brooks was at the helm at the starting position, whenever Bijan and Roshan were playing. Those guys forced missed tackles. And those forced missed tackles end up turning into big explosive plays. And I'm not talking about 15, 18-yard runs. I'm talking about those 60-yard, 70-yard, big game breaking type of plays. And so we haven't seen Jaden Blue, Trey Wisner, or Jared Gibson give that on a consistent basis. So I want to say that's something to keep an eye out for as competition stiffens. You all know better than anybody, this Oklahoma defense is stingy. They don't give anything to anybody. And I don't care if you got a dynamic passing attack, if you got a dynamic rushing attack, they are up for the cause. And so this is going to be where I focus a lot of my attention as Texas plays a lot of these defenses that'll perform better. Oklahoma, Georgia. Like I said, Vanderbilt's playing much better. I don't put them in elite category, but Kentucky's defense played very well over the course of the season. A&M is playing really good football. Arkansas just beat Tennessee. So you're going to see some really tough matchups on defensive fronts, and I want to see how Texas is able to control the line of scrimmage and if those running backs can make big explosive plays to be able to help take some of that pressure off of Quinn and the receivers whenever it comes down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, I agree with that. How about the wide receivers? Bond has been great. To me, he stands out above the crowd quite a bit. How about the other guys? Who do you think is kind of rolling into that number 2 spot?
Yeah, I think DeAndre Moore is the person that I would pencil in as kind of being that most pleasant and dynamic surprise for this offense. Steve Sarkisian in spring ball mentioned how much of an integral part DeAndre Moore would be for this offense. And in my mind, I kept thinking, all right, yeah, DeAndre Moore is good. He's very talented. Like we know what he can do. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, Jonte Cook, you bringing in a 5-star Ryan Wingo. Like these guys are going to be the other two lining up opposite of Isaiah Bond. And I think the greatest compliment that I've been able to see DeAndre Moore put together, DJ, as he goes by, is he shows up to work every single day and he's the same. He first up, always doing what he's doing in practice. He's giving 100% reps. He's blocking his butt off on the edge, on the perimeter. He's making dynamic catches in the game, contested catches. His speed is probably underrated because you got guys like Silas Bowden and Isaiah Bond next to him who putting on a track meet display. But every time you look up, man, DeAndre Moore is getting behind the defensive backs, and that goes to show you how savvy of a player he is, how dynamic he's utilized. And that's a guy in the slot that Quinn and Arch both love to get the ball to. And I think the emergence of his development and seeing his leadership actually continue to take off in a way that not a lot of people expected him to in the first time as a starting receiver, I think has been a pleasant surprise. But that entire receiver room has been playing well above expectations, considering you lose draft picks left and right, first round, second round. Jordan Whittington gets drafted. You lose Jatavian Sanders to the NFL draft. So your top 4 pass catchers from a season ago, you're trying to replace that level of production. And man, these guys have stepped in and done an amazing job. And Gunnar Helm at the tight end position, even slotting into some of the receiving yardage. It's been pretty cool to see what Steve Sarkisian has done with a new group of guys and being at the level of productivity that he's been able to put this offense in.
When it's Texas's offense and OU's defense on the field, Fozzy, is there one matchup in particular that you're going to have your eye on
R. Mason
Saturday?
Thomas. R. Mason Thomas, man, that dude is playing unbelievable right now. Obviously, I love Danny Stutzman. I told him at media day, I said, hey man, if you wasn't wearing that red, I could really pull for you publicly. But because you have on the crimson, I can't necessarily say it out loud. But I love your game. I love how you bring it. Everything that you do, like you all know, you see how infectious his energy is, how he gets the rest of his teammates riled up, ready to play. And there's nobody that probably performs the biggest in this game than that dude every single year. And he's the model and level of consistency. But man, I'm breaking down our Mason Thomas game. And man, that dude has had some of those explosive, dynamic defensive lineman impacts on games like we've seen from the historical presence of who Oklahoma has always had on defense. Man, he's carrying that flag to the highest degree. And I think that matchup, whether he's on the ends against Kelvin Banks or against Cam Williams, or sometimes if they slot him on the inside, having an opportunity to go against Jake Majors, Hayden Connor, whoever is lined up in that position, DJ Campbell, I think that's the matchup that I really want to pay attention to because it all gets started right there, which really allows a lot of what Danny Stutzman is able to do is because they do so well of a job up front. And he's obviously the guy that gets a lot of that pass rush going. So I want to see how he's able to continue that pass rush against an offensive line for Texas, who I think is performing at a very high level for the most part.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the offensive line looks great. Is there a weak link in that group? I mean, to me, they've all looked really solid for the most part.
Yeah, weak link, I would say isolating a guy like Jake Majors sometimes with a bigger physical defensive tackle. That gives him problems. And in the same way, if you get a very shifty, speedy guy that's savvy with his hands and with a quick get off, DJ Campbell can be susceptible in one-on-one opportunities. Those are the two that I always have a question mark, and more so it's really DJ Campbell because a lot of times Jake Majors is going to get support, whether it's from the left guard Hayden Connor or whether it's from the right guard DJ Campbell. But I've seen multiple times if DJ Campbell's left on an island against a quicker opponent, sometimes that gives them fits. And obviously Kyle Flood is a lineman extraordinaire in the coaching that he gives. He's able to go back and make the adjustments, and Steve Sarkisian will obviously call plays accordingly. But that's what I see whenever you isolate some of those guys where you can find room to attack and create some pressure or penetrate in the run game. I've seen that surface over the course of the past couple of games.
Fozzy, looking at the Longhorns defense, I've watched every snap that they've played this season on defense multiple times. Man, they are keeping it very, very simple
Hmm.
defensively. Is that by design? Is that trust in the personnel? Like, what has the staff said about why they're keeping it as simple as they are defensively?
Yeah, PK and Johnny Nansen have talked about making sure the guys are flying around fast. And it's a collaborative effort, especially between those two guys on where to put people to be most effective and dynamic. Now, to be fair, a lot of the reasoning why they haven't had to show more of what they can do, especially with some of the exotic pressures that Johnny Nansen is used to and accustomed to running while he was at Arizona, it's because of the level of play, right? Texas has typically been the better team whenever they've gone up against their opponent. And Michigan probably is an outlier, but Michigan isn't who Michigan was a season ago, and they don't have the same passing attack and the dynamic downfield threat that we saw them have a year ago. So even then, you can play a little different with the way you disguise some of your looks and your coverages, but ultimately it's about playing fast. The defensive line being able to replace first round and second round talent, Tavondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, that was a huge question mark on how they would do it. And it's kind of a committee approach. Alfred Collins, Vernon Broughton, Jermaine Lele, you see Norton get in. You see a lot of those guys rotating in and having an impact. And ultimately, I think they're all the beneficiary of having a more balanced interior defensive line because no one's necessarily standing out above the rest. They're playing well, but they're not playing Byron Murphy level. They're not playing necessarily Tavondre Sweat level, but they feed off of each other's pros and cons and their strengths and weaknesses very well. And then the emergence of freaking a superstar rusher like Colin Simmons, and you add in the kind of veteran presence that Trey Moore is able to provide. And man, that defensive line has played their butts off to be able to allow the back end to play a little bit more simple looks and rely on the athleticism. So it goes hand in hand with the defensive calls and how they're being able to apply pressure without having to manufacture kind of those blitz looks or put one-on-one matchups with the DBs across the board.
I honestly, I think the game is going to be won and lost on this side of the ball.
Yeah.
Texas defense against Oklahoma's offense. On the flip side, I think you have to expect both Texas's offense and Oklahoma's defense to both maybe trade some punches, and
Hmm.
both are going to make some plays. But this other side of the ball, I think can Texas dominate? Where do you think that they have maybe the biggest advantage?
I think ultimately defending the pass is where, and we all know numbers are a huge stat, right? Texas has been really good defending the pass from a statistical standpoint, but they haven't played anybody that really pushes the ball downfield. So it's not an accurate representation of how good the back end of Texas is, although they have shown major improvement over the course of last season versus this season. Uh, Obviously, you look at Michael Hawkins Jr. and Jackson Arnold, if he does get in some, where some of their deficiencies are, and they haven't necessarily passed the ball down the field very effectively, right? Mid game, short range, that's in their wheelhouse, but down the field hasn't typically been where they've made their hay or had the best bread and butter. And that's uncommon to see from an Oklahoma offense, as you all know. We're always accustomed to seeing the deep threat be there. That's what obviously gets Texas off of their kilter or off heel a lot, is being able to have some of those deep shots, some of the, fake the bubble screen and then hit the receiver in the back, and it's a 30, 40-yard explosive or a touchdown. And that's where I've seen the biggest difference from this Oklahoma team versus last year, was those big dynamic explosive plays downfield, not from a lack of talent. It's just from a lack of execution, in my opinion. And I think that gives Texas the upper hand to maybe play a little bit more heavy at the box or the line of scrimmage, fit a little bit more in the run game, and try to say, hey, force us deep, because we know you haven't necessarily had the best success at it. But if you're going to beat us, we want you beating us in an area that you don't necessarily excel at this point of the season. So I think that might be the mindset and the approach that Texas goes with, and try to force the run from Hawkins Jr., from Barnes, from whoever is in the backfield, and try to make it into third and long situations, and hopefully get the NASCAR blitz package that Texas likes to run, and get some of those rushers kind of agitating and frustrating Michael Hawkins Jr. in the pocket.
You mentioned Michael Hawkins Jr. Just what do you think about what you've seen from the freshman for the Sooners?
I think he's done a spectacular job, man, for what the expectation was coming into this season, for what he's been able to do. Like, it's not too many people that can step into his position and perform without like feeling like, oh man, I got so much pressure on me. Oh man, I got all these people depending on me. Like, I got to do this, I got to do that. Like, it to me, he's played free. And now that's what I want to see continue to happen. Like, you take over the role and everything that comes with it. It's not necessarily a media shock anymore now that he's played a game and he started and he's kind of made his mark. But at the end of the day, man, he's played very freely, and I love the confidence that he exudes. He's not a shy individual from a standpoint of like taking hold of the offense and making it his. And so I think that's what I've been most impressed with about his game. And obviously, he can tote the rock. I remember you talking about it, Gabe, from the spring game, and you mentioned from practices that you had attended, like nobody necessarily is talking about him, and he might not get that many reps at the time because of what the expectation of Jackson Arnold was for this offense. But you mentioned the talent that he possessed and what he was able to provide every time he stepped on the field. And so I've kept that in my mind, and man, seeing it play out in the games and seeing how he's been able to actually utilize his abilities and his dynamic kind of skill set that is not unlike a lot of other quarterbacks at the D1 level. I think that says a lot about his character, about the way he approaches practice, the way he approaches game, the preparation that he's been able to put in. And then whenever his time was ready to go, he was ready and poised to be able to come in and put points on the board. And so I just like the level of preparation and his attitude from what I've been able to see from the outside looking in, and the way that he's been able to take over this offense and kind of make it his own identity.
You mentioned his athleticism, and there's no doubt, on that opening drive against Auburn, he takes as the
Hmm.
longest running play we've had all year. What effect is that going to have on the way Texas plays defense? I haven't seen a guy with that
Right.
athleticism so far this year. Now, if you listen to Oklahoma, they will downplay anytime you talk about his ability to run. They're going to downplay that, but they've had a bye week. I would be shocked if there wasn't something thrown in there to try and create some run game. We have not been good running the football, so I mean, there's a little bit of guessing, I'm sure, going on there. But
Oh yeah.
do you think that they're going to be prepared for any type of quarterback run game that Oklahoma has inserted?
Yeah, the level of preparation is going to be there. And to your point, whenever you add in a dynamic runner like the way Hawkins is for this offense and just his skill set, right? And you go back and look at Dylan Gabriel, and a lot of the reasons why Oklahoma was able to win last year was because the plays that Dylan Gabriel made with his legs, right? He had some really good passes, don't get me wrong, but he broke the defense down whenever he took the ball and got a first down on third down or got into the red zone and utilized him as an extra runner to be able to get into the end zone. And I don't expect kind of that type of impact to change just because, Hawkins isn't necessarily the focal point in the run game. So I think he'll obviously be a guy that'll be featured in there. We've seen what Diego Pavia was able to do for Vanderbilt. We've seen what Cam Ward has been able to do whenever he takes off and run. We've seen what Jalen Milroe has been able to do. People within the SEC, people within the Heisman conversation, they're all dynamic type of players because they're dual threat type of guys. And I think ultimately taking away the running ability of what Hawkins is able to do would really hinder kind of the creativeness and what Oklahoma can really expand to be as an offense, especially whenever you're trying to get the run game going. Like that's another hat and another gap that you got to fill for that could open up an opportunity for the run game to get started with the running backs because now instead of the DN chasing down the line of scrimmage, he got to hold back one more step to be able to account for quarterback zone read or counter read, whatever the case may be. So I think being able to utilize his skill set will be advantageous for the offense. And I think it makes it obviously a lot more difficult for that defense to defend because now you got to add an extra layer. And then whenever you get in third down situations, even if it is third and long, you got to have your rush angles on point. You can't rush past them too fast. And then if you do rush upfield, you can't leave a lane too wide because one-on-one against some of these linebackers, I pick Hawkins to be able to run away from him if he has that type of space. And that's what Texas cannot do on a defensive standpoint is give up a 3rd and 13 with the quarterback run or whatever the case may be. So I think it'd be advantageous for Oklahoma to absolutely use them in the run game.
The spread is large, Fozzy, but hopefully we get a good one Saturday, man. That's what we all want. We just
Yeah,
want another OU Texas
absolutely.
classic.
You know that spread means nothing too. I was actually shocked. I saw 14 and a half. I was like, man, Vegas don't be watching these games every year. Like what well, I know Vegas know a lot about betting and winning, and they are Vegas for what they do, but like this game is something special. You don't throw out double digits at that, like and 2 touchdowns. Like, no. We all know that that's not finna happen. So I'm expecting there to be fireworks. Last year was a perfect example of everybody thought one team was expected to win. Everybody thought, it was going to be, a 7 point, whatever the case may be. I don't even remember what the spread finished last year, but it was a lot bigger than obviously the gap was. And then Oklahoma pulls it off in the last nail-biting seconds. And that's the games that we love. That's why the rivalry is as rich as it is because no matter what happens, no matter what the spread, the rankings, whatever the record is, man, these two teams, they throw it all out of the window and they go out there and play for pride and they go out there and play for that golden hat. And man, ultimately a good game is where I expect this game to end up as well.
You're the man.
Well, I think we all do. You got to give us your final pick though. How do you see it
Oh,
playing out?
man, I haven't even put a score together. This is the first time I'm on the spot and I don't know why because I knew it was probably coming, but I do believe Texas is the better team, but we all know the better team doesn't always win. I do think they are able to avenge last year's loss. And I think it'll probably be similar fashion. I think it's going to be like a 31-27 type of game. Texas is able to get enough ahead at the beginning to be able to hold on to the lead. But I'll pick 31-27 Texas.
You're the best, Foz. As always, we appreciate the time, man, and enjoy Saturday. It's the best weekend of the year, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man. Y'all have a good one and enjoy yourselves this weekend as well.
Love that guy. He's fantastic.
It was good. A lot of good info in there.
Ton. And I love that he thinks that the spread is ridiculous as well. That it just feels it's nice hearing that from a Texas guy. Okay.
Yeah, tight football game. I mean, we all know it. rarely is it truly even coming into this game, but it feels like the football on the field always ends up that way.
Got a great one in Dallas. A couple other huge ones across the country in week 7 of college football. Let's preview those. But first,
Insurica has launched a new digital agency introducing Insurica Direct. Whether you're in Oklahoma or anywhere across the U.S., they've got you covered. From small business insurance and health insurance for your employees to insurance for individuals like home, auto, and even Medicare supplements, Insurica Direct's got it all. Start your journey today at insuricadirect.com. Remember, at Insurica, we specialize in you.
and head to oplisclothing.com for our podcast merchandise and the best OU gear out there. That's OPOLIS clothing.com and use promo code TED, TED for 10% off. Oplisclothing.com, promo code TED for 10% off. Buttery soft and 10% off. Let's start. What? Why are you laughing at me?
You look like a kid that's got like a big life jacket on in the pool. It's just like,
I was just trying to show your shirt, man.
I like it.
It's a great shirt.
I like it.
Let's start in Eugene. Number 2, Ohio State taking on number 3, Oregon. This will be a 6:30 p.m. kickoff on NBC. Ohio State currently a 3.5-point favorite. This is a matchup that everyone had circled in the preseason, Ted, and it's exactly what we hoped it would be. Both teams are coming in 5-0, but even though it does kind of feel like Oregon's found its footing a little bit in their last 2, does it feel like these 2 5-0s feel a little different?
Yes.
Ohio State feels like a ball of butcher knives 5-0.
Yep, they do. I mean, I was like, okay, they haven't really played anyone. Iowa's not great, but solid football team. Let's see how it looks. And not even a football game really ever. Will Howard has performed really well. He's been efficient for him. He's made some plays in the running game, distributing the football to the playmakers. They got some really good wideouts. They got a really good back. And when I've seen Oregon, it just feels like it takes them a half to kind of get their bearings, and then they start to separate a little bit. I just don't think that they're going to be able to do that against Ohio State.
I'm with you. Part of me wonders if Ohio State can just show up and run it right down Oregon's face with Henderson and Judkins. I think that's very much a possibility, but for whatever reason, I kind of think Oregon's defensive line, who hasn't lived up to the hype so far this season, I kind of think they'll rise to the occasion and make things a little more difficult. Could be wrong, but that's just the sense I'm getting. And that means Will Howard's going to have to go out and make some plays. If only he had some weapons at the skill positions.
Right.
I mean, Jeremiah Smith is ridiculous, dude.
He's ridiculous.
Ibuka's fantastic. I mean, they got guys for days, dudes for days at the skill spots. But I think the key to this matchup is the other side of the ball. It's Oregon's offense against Ohio State's defense. Ohio State's defense may be the best defense in the country. But Oregon, they will undoubtedly be the best offense that they have seen. Dylan Gabriel's a veteran guy. I've been really impressed with Jordan James at the running back spot for Oregon. Are they going to be able to move the ball consistently and score a bunch of points? I don't think so. I like Ohio State to win the football game.
I do too. I kind of like them big.
How big are we talking?
Whatever that means.
Double digits?
Double digits.
Number 2 versus number 3. You're on the road. You go win by double digits. I consider that big, even if you're favored in the game. That's big.
35-21, 38-21, something like that.
Phil Knight is not going to be happy if it's 38-21.
Well, throw money at it. Throw money at it, Phil.
He's trying, Ted.
I know.
But one thing, Dillon Gabriel, he can't turn the ball over like he has in the last two games.
No.
Especially, he can't turn the ball over down in critical areas of the field.
And he's going to be under some pressure, too. Like, some of those are just bad throws. Right? That one down on the goal line was just a bad throw. You know, he's going to be under some pressure with Ohio State's D-line coming after him. Love Sawyer off the edge. Dude's an animal. I could be wrong on this one. Haven't seen a whole lot of Ohio State, but from what I have seen, they look really dominant. And Oregon looks like maybe they're close to being dominant. Maybe they're going to get there. I just feel like these two teams are in different places right now.
Ryan Day has had a Michigan problem. He's been really good against pretty much everyone else. And you think about the Michigan teams they've lost to, especially the one last year, went on to win a national title. Think about the Georgia team they lost to a couple years ago in the playoff, took them to the wire. That poor field goal kicker, that was such a bad kick. But you think about those rosters in the talent across the board. Is Oregon that type of team?
I think Oregon is a playoff team. I think Ohio State is a national title game type of team.
I think that's a great way of putting it.
Kind of how I view it.
Yeah. Now, Autzen Stadium is going to be
anything. I mean, this is
going to be an insane atmosphere. There's no doubt about it. But I think my only other hope of this game is that Oregon just wears something reasonable. Don't come out in all highlighter yellow, like, or maybe that is reasonable for them. I don't.
Hey,
I kind of just want a normal
State
like
off the hook.
Yeah. What was that last week?
They wore crap last week. Don't let them off the hook. They've been known that give us a traditional game. This is legit stuff here. We're top 5 matchup. Let's put some respectable clothes on, okay?
You are Big Ten rivals, for goodness sake. Act like it. Come on. Well, conference realignment. We've said a lot of negatives. This ain't one of them. This is going to be awesome.
Yep.
Both on Ohio State?
Both on Ohio State.
We're doubting you, Ducks. Let's see what you got. I hope Dillon Gabriel plays well.
I do too.
That was a long pause, dude.
I was thinking in my head, is this a Heisman Trophy elimination game?
Yeah. I may turn that into a social media clip. That was so funny.
You were waiting on me to go ahead and throw.
I was just waiting on you to be like, yeah, me too, man. Hoping the best for DG. I was just trying to. It was a softball. I lobbed you up a softball.
My mind was saying that. Yeah, I do too. But is this a Heisman Trophy elimination game? Maybe everyone's already eliminated anyways with Ginty. Maybe he's just going to win the whole thing.
Ginty and Travis Hunter right now. That's how it feels for me. Another big SEC matchup this weekend. Number 9 Ole Miss goes to number 13 LSU. This game is 6:30 p.m. on ABC. Ole Miss is currently a 3.5-point road favorite.
Speaking of uniform game, another good one.
Could be gorgeous. Should be gorgeous. Will be gorgeous. I'm confident that both of these teams will wear something normal, but it feels like a massive game for Ole Miss. And I know that they got right against South Carolina, but they already have a loss in the SEC. And LSU is coming off a bye. That's going to be a well-rested team. And you're starting to see a lot of reports that, hey, some of these key guys for Ole Miss are pretty banged up. So it feels like a bit of a dangerous spot for the Rebels because this Ole Miss defense, they have not seen anyone near the caliber of LSU's offense. Not even close this season. So I think we're going to find out just how good that Ole Miss defense is in this game.
I agree with you. And I may be off on this one, but I thought South Carolina was going to play better against Ole Miss than they did. That game got off to a horrible start for South Carolina, and it just got worse from there. But for whatever reason, I trust LSU a little bit more in this situation. You mentioned the bye week. It feels like they stumbled against USC. They had that game won. How much different are we thinking about USC right now if they just finish off that football game against USC? We're probably like there's a whole different thought process around LSU. And I know you can't
and
do
then
that,
Brian Kelly after the game's not banging on the table, all mad.
right, right.
That's
And
still one of my favorite clips of the season.
Yeah, we don't want that to be eliminated. We've got to have that. But I don't know. I feel like LSU, the thought of what they are, I don't know necessarily lines up with where they've. I mean, I feel like they've come a long way offensively. Quarterback's playing well. I think LSU wins it. I'm kind of surprised they're a home dog.
I kind of feel the same way. Now, LSU has not solved their defensive problems. They're not good on defense. I think Ole Miss is going to move the ball and score points. But it's interesting. I've heard a couple different people say this. Like Harold Perkins went out for the year. Blew his knee out. That sucks. Hated for the young man.
Yep.
But it kind of seems like their defense functions a little better without him on the field. So that's something to keep an eye on. Now, I do think that Ole Miss, once again, is going to be able to move the ball and score points, and I expect Jackson Dart to play at a high level in this game. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of attention on Garrett Nussbaum, a lot of attention on Jackson Dart, a lot of attention on Trey Harris and his status for this game, and then Kyron Lacey for LSU is a stud. But I think it could be simple as, hey, who runs the rock better? And it does feel like LSU's found a little something with Caden Durham as he's become more involved at the running back position. So
Yeah.
You have to assume the environment is going to affect the game as well. And the only thing I ask of the broadcast on this game, if ABC has a sense of humor at all, they will pop up a graphic of how many times Ole Miss guys lay on the damn field only to come back into the game like 2 plays later. I want a graphic. I want a sound effect, a rolling tally. Like I'm imagining like a loud bell where it goes from, oh, it's happened once to twice. Bing, and then it shows a 2 in a box.
Don't you think that
they need to be shamed for it, Ted? We have to publicly shame them to get them to stop doing the fake injury stuff. We got to do it, and the broadcast can do it.
I say that if the ball's been spotted or you line up in a formation and a guy goes down, the team is immediately charged with the timeout. Like you don't have to call one. Like it happens immediately. You're charged with the timeout. Like if a guy gets up and like makes it to, well, I know we don't huddle anymore, but makes it into the formation and then decides to go down, it should be an automatic timeout.
I like that. I like that a lot. Would it would it prevent people from doing this stuff? I think
Yeah.
it would.
Yeah.
Some people may not like it. Like a guy is walking around the field, he catches a cramp. Hey, tough stuff, buddy. Time out.
Yeah.
Don't cramp.
Don't cramp. Push together. I don't know. I don't
That's a
think
good idea. I like it. That's one of the best ideas I've heard.
I don't think it's going to happen, though. I mean,
why not? It feels like Lane Kiffin is almost abusing the rule just to see how much they can get away with.
Well, everyone is. Everyone is. And it's college. Like, I love college football. There's so much about college football to love, but there's so much about college football to hate. And like the Mickey Mouse stuff to me is like I could just line up a bunch of Mickey Mouse things about college football that I hate. Like
nothing more than the punt formation.
I think that I've thrown it out before that it should be a rule that you have to huddle before the like whatever 2 minutes left in a half or 4 minutes, whatever it might be, to keep people from doing stupid things. Like I shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to come up with rules to try and keep people from doing stupid things.
College football's the best, but lot of Mickey Mouse stuff. You're right. A lot of shenanigans. A lot of shenanigans. Are you more interested in Penn State at USC or Kansas State at Colorado? Penn State at USC has lost some sizzle.
Yeah.
Although it does feel like people are starting to very much turn against Lincoln Riley out there.
Out there. Did you hear Joel Klatt talking about, he said Alabama is like a Lincoln Riley Oklahoma team?
I did hear that.
I mean, I think he's jumping the gun a little bit on Alabama, but I thought it was hilarious that like Alabama gets beat by Vanderbilt and Lincoln Riley's catching strays all the way across the country at USC. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man. And I've said this for a long time. He's got a perception problem really bad.
I think he's got a Penn State problem this weekend.
He does. Yeah. To answer your question, I'm probably more interested in K-State, Colorado, because I think Penn State's going to handle USC fairly, not easily, but I think they're a better football team.
If Penn State goes to the Coliseum and smacks them around, the discourse is only going to get more interesting.
I know.
And hey, USC has struggled. They struggled to produce explosive plays in the passing game against Minnesota. They've turned it over too much in the last couple games. I'm not sure those trends don't continue against that Penn State defense.
Yeah. This is a Big Ten football team, right? Penn State. And like if they only had a longer runway, I would take them to go out there and win this thing by maybe 3 touchdowns. But since they had to drive to Harrisburg to fly out, I think they just win by 10 points, 14.
I'm also more interested in K-State, Colorado.
9:15. It's a more volatile game, right? Like who knows what's going to happen?
9:15 p.m. kickoff, ESPN. Kansas State a 4-point road favorite. And I just have no idea what's going to happen in this game, and I have no idea what's going to happen at the top of the Big 12. And that's what makes this so interesting to me. Like K-State could go there and blow them out. Just run it all over them, dominate the game in the trenches, and walk out of there going, see ya, nerds. But how does Avery Johnson respond to going and playing in another big-time road environment? It did not go well for him at BYU. That's probably the worst football game he's played in his entire life with how talented that guy is. But I feel like when you got Shedeur Sanders and you got the best player on the field, and they will have the best player on the field, Travis Hunter, it can always be interesting. All I want is to be hammering some celebratory beverages, watching this football game go back and forth and be very entertaining. That's all I want. Ted, is that so much to ask for?
It's not. The beauty of this football game is at halftime, you're going to be able to flip it over to the Boise State Hawaii game that starts at 10 o'clock and watch our boy for Boise State go for about 250 in the first half against Hawaii.
That'll be fun as well.
250 yards on 7 carries.
Who do you like, K-State or Colorado?
I think Kansas State is the better all-around football team. But like you said, Colorado's going to have the best player on the field. And I think that they're always going to be kind of within range with their offense to, throw it and get themselves back in the game. But give me Kansas State.
Give me the Buffs to cover and the Buffs to win outright. I've changed how I'm viewing that program after what they did to UCF.
Really?
That was impressive, brother. They carved them up. And Kansas State's defense has had its issues with giving up explosives this year. I don't know. It's going to be, I think they're going to have a big home field advantage. I love Chris Kleiman. Maybe they go in there and they walk out with a, 2-touchdown win. Very possible. But I don't know. It's just a weird year, man. Like Colorado beating Kansas State at home would not shock me in any way after some of the things we've seen this season. So I don't know. I just want it to be a good game. That's all I want.
I liked Kleiman whenever he coached them like they were K-State.
Yeah, their offense, we have not really talked about that. Their offensive shift, I think, has been mistake is hard. That's a harsh word. I think their offensive shift, I don't understand why they did that.
Do you think it's for portal guys?
I think it's for Avery Johnson.
For Avery Johnson? I think he's got some talent, but is he talented enough to change like the foundation of a program?
Well, I think he would have been awesome in the stuff that they did. Now, remember, they lost their offense coordinator.
Yeah.
But the offensive line coach that had been there for years with the offense coordinator is the one calling plays.
Yeah. I don't know.
They run Levy's offense from what I can tell. Like Matt Wells brought a lot of what he learned from Jeff Lebby at Oklahoma while he was here as an analyst. I don't know why Chris Kleiman did that. I miss watching them run power 16 times a game.
I know. And that's why I think it's like,
look at Wisconsin, man.
Yeah.
You think they're happy running the dairy raid? That offense sucks.
It's terrible.
They suck on offense. They used to have one of the clearest identities on offense in all of college football. And now they just suck. Now they're like everyone else and they suck.
They used to be good at one thing. Like, I don't even know that I haven't seen what they're doing, but they better not be doing crap that's going to ruin their offensive line pipeline to the NFL.
That is a concern amongst the fan base currently.
Oh, my God.
Played with some guys at Wisconsin, or that went to Wisconsin. Played with some guys in the NFL that went to Wisconsin. I've had that conversation with a couple of them. Like, we need to get back to running the rock. We got to just produce O-linemen.
Yep. I don't know. Wild.
Just run power and stretch, K-State. You were so good at it. Just do it. What are we doing?
Quarterback power over and over. Pop pass. Come on. I mean, there has to be, isn't there another why am I drawing a blank? The endless train of wide
Lockett.
receivers. Lockett. Isn't there another Lockett coming?
There may be, I think there's one there.
I think there's one there. What are we doing? Power, 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 Lockett.
It's the formula.
Jeez.
What are we doing, K-State? Get back to it. Come on. Let's finish up with our winners and losers of the week. As always, Ted, kick us off. Who do you have as your winner of the week?
I guess I'm going Major League Baseball. Mets. Mets jumping all over the Phillies. Are they going to finish them? The one game away. They lead the series 2-1. Had another big win tonight. Jumped all over them 7-2. And that'll be a pretty big upset.
Pete Alonso, dingers. I'm still on my playoff baseball kick. I'm still watching.
Yeah,
Dude, they barely got it in the playoffs.
barely.
They had the weird travel situation for the wild card. They were amazing in the wild card. Our team of destiny vibes with the Mets.
Yeah. I mean, I know it'll be disappointing for Phillies fans because they were close to having the best record in baseball, one of the big favorites, and you got to start thinking that way, right? If you knock off one of the big dogs right out of the gate.
They barely made the playoffs.
What they had to win, would they have to win one of the two games against the Braves on the last weekend or something?
Yeah.
When we were at Auburn.
Do you think, because didn't something like this happen last year too? And maybe it happened to the Phillies, but do you think the wild card and the teams getting the buys, do you think Major League Baseball is going to reevaluate the system? I feel like I'm starting to hear quite a few complaints about it.
The first round was weird this year. Maybe, what's great is whenever you change it all the time, you could just change it again, and no one really misses a beat.
That's fair.
Like
I mean,
the
I don't watch
NFL.
any regular season baseball. I won't know they change it until the playoffs next year. It'll be a pleasant surprise for me.
Yeah, it's kind of like the NFL. I know they play 17 games, and I know that there's two extra teams that make the playoffs. But in my mind, there's 12 teams that make the playoffs, and the NFL season is 16 games long. So that never changes for me. It doesn't really matter,
How about this? The Mets have never had a clinching celebration at Citi Field, which opened in 2009. And they're staring that right in the face with Game 4 of the NLDS coming up.
Wait, you're telling me that they've never been able to? You're not just talking about clinch a playoff, like win a series. They've never won a series.
It says a win advances New York to the National League Championship Series. The Mets have never had a clinching celebration at Citi Field, which opened in 2009.
Wow.
That's what it says.
So we're going to Philly, baby.
Philly, what was it? They were in the World Series 2 years ago. Lost in the playoffs last year. An early playoff exit to the Mets, just that cannot sit well.
No, it can't sit well.
Do you think there's got to be a piece of Mets fans that is thinking we're getting set up for like the most painful thing ever, aren't we?
I don't know. I don't think so.
The vibes are high for the Mets.
I feel like the Mets are one of the most hated teams in baseball. And I feel like whenever you're one of the most hated teams in baseball, things are on your side, right? Because no one wants to see it. But so are Philadelphia's pretty hated too, aren't they?
I don't know. I feel like they were the darlings only a couple years ago. Everyone was talking about how it's the best atmosphere in sports, like and all that stuff.
Well,
I don't know. This is the best thing about it for me. I don't care. I just want to be entertained.
sit
I
back
just
and
want
watch.
entertaining like nail biters. That's all I'm looking for.
There you go.
Who do you have as your loser of the week?
I had to go with Robert Saleh. Fired. Escorted off the property.
I
Excuse me, coach. Could you bring your playbook in?
he's got he they have not won games. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? He's got to have one of the worst records for a head coach that is, stuck around as long as he has. So I wasn't surprised, but did you see the thing about their owner?
No. Said it was his call.
Yeah, well, yes, he said it was 100% on him. But who was it talking about it? Someone on NFL Network, I can't remember, was basically saying, "Hey, if the Jets go to London and they lose, that's really going to piss Woody Johnson off because he was like an ambassador and has like friends in London that were going to go to the game." And that's exactly what happened.
That he's got to show off to his friends that he could fire the coach if they lose. It's been so weird because I feel like since training camp
It was Eric
started,
Mangini who said
and
it
Genie, I
on
feel like
FS1. How about that?
uh, since since training camp started, every time I click onto ESPN on the homepage, it says like Aaron Rodgers says his relationship with the head coach is fine. Rodgers says he's friends with Robert Saleh. It's why is that constantly being written about? I feel like they've been setting us up for this the whole time or something.
And then they had the really awkward like hug push away thing on the sideline a couple of weeks ago. That was weird as hell.
I don't know. There was just so much conversation about what their relationship status was. It was awkward and weird.
Eric Mangini predicted Woody Johnson would be pissed off by a loss in London because his friends from his time as U.S. ambassador to the UK would be in attendance.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Oh, that's
Well,
pretty good.
here's the deal. I think he's still set to make like $20,000 a week or is it a day, something like that. Some crazy amount of money on his buyout. So he'll be okay.
He'll be fine. And I'm sure he'll be a defense coordinator somewhere very, very soon. Interested to see who the next man is
What
for
is
the
it?
Jets.
I didn't even see who's going to be the interim coach.
Defense coordinator. I am. Did you say interim again?
Interim, interim, interim,
You said it weird. You like interim.
interim,
I'd
interim.
never heard I'd never heard the emphasis on that syllable in that word. That
Huh. Interim,
I could be crazy. Rewind it, people, and tell me if I'm crazy or not.
interim.
Tweet me.
Huh.
I, I don't think things are going to go well for the Jets this season. Either way, I just don't think. Are they a good football team? Is this a big? Is this going to be a big addition by subtraction? Right, getting Saleh out of the building. I don't know.
I don't know. Ah, are they good? I'm looking at their schedule. Bills, Steelers, Patriots, Texans, Cardinals, Colts. I don't. They're 2-3 right now. I mean, they lost to the Broncos. Should 10-9. Yeah, I don't know, man. Here's the thing. It can click at. I feel like it can click at any moment offensively for them, and if that starts to happen, they're going to be dangerous. But if it doesn't, then I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
Seems fair. All right, let's finish up with my winner and loser of the week. But first,
We're brought to you by HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. We all know home-cooked meals are so much better for you, but you don't always have time to pull it off. But with HelloFresh, handling all the meal planning, shopping, and most of the prep, it's easier than ever to get dinner on the table, quick and painless. My wife and I made HelloFresh's pecan-crusted chicken with honey mustard sauce and lemony apple salad. Easy to make, healthy, delicious, easy instructions. Only takes about 30 minutes or so. And HelloFresh lets you easily customize your delivery from week to week. Tailor everything to your schedule by adjusting your delivery date or skip a week when you're not able to cook at home. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown. Applied across 7 boxes, new subscribers only, and it varies by plan, but that's 10 free HelloFresh meals just by going to HelloFresh.com/free OK breakdown.
for my winner of the week, thought about going with Vanderbilt. Yeah, they got the $100,000 fine from the SEC, which they shouldn't. The league should have. The conference should have overlooked that one for Vandy. I mean, just we don't know if that's going to happen again in our lifetime. They should just overlook that one. But they're making their money back, Ted. They're auctioning off everything.
Everything.
They are selling, and they are of the. There are 0 left. I'm checking it right now. 0 left. 4-inch piece of the field goal posts, all sold for $1,005 a pop. 8-inch piece of the crossbar, all of them are sold $4,035 a pop. They're selling everything. They're selling pylons. They're selling game balls. They're selling helmets. Say,
I'd pay $1,000 for the game ball that the Alabama player punted off the field at the end of the game.
You know what they should do? Someone should buy the game ball. I think they're selling only a couple of them, but you should buy the game ball and then mail it to Malachi Moore. I feel like Diego Pavia is the guy that would do that. Buy the game ball himself and then send it to that guy in the mail. That would be incredible.
How much are they selling the microphone that Pavia was dropping F-bombs into in the post?
I don't see that on here. I do see some helmets. You got helmets. Oh, you can get the goalpost pad for the low price of $6,200.
That is awesome.
Oh, Diego Pavia game-worn jersey signed. And he wrote Vandy We Turt on it.
11,000?
$11,090.
We got to go for more than that.
Yeah, come on, guys. Come on, Vandy fans. What are we doing?
It's funny.
But my winner of the week, Thunder are back, baby. First preseason game in the books.
Oh.
Got the win. Going to the preseason game tonight. Very, very excited to see the boys back in action. And yeah, I watched every minute of the preseason game. Does that make me a sicko? Of course it does. I am who I am. I rewatched the highlights. I'm all in. Ted, I am so excited for the season. I was taking notes during a preseason game like a complete psychopath.
Did I see a clip where someone was saying Chet changed his shot a little bit?
Looks good. Now, he finished everything at the rim in this game. Didn't play a ton, but I feel like he went out of his way to show his ability to get downhill and play with more force, and it looked good. I mean, finishing, dunking the ball. I was really he did not play a lot, but I was really pleased with what I saw from him. And then Jalen Williams is actually the one whose shot looks better to me. In the past, I felt like it almost had too much rotation on it. and it just looked a little smoother. And he went on a scoring barrage late in the second quarter in this game, where it was just a reminder of just how damn good he is. But I was really focused on watching Hartenstein and Caruso, and those guys just get it. They know how to move the ball offensively. They know how to move without the ball. They set good screens.
Caruso he could be the piece that ties it all together.
They're just quick decision makers.
Yeah.
I mean, Hartenstein had 7 assists in this game. I about fainted. There was a moment. He puts it on the deck, Ted, dribble handoff to Chet Holmgren. He then rolls, seals his guy in the lane, creating more space for Chet, who is going downhill and dunks the ball. And I about fainted on my couch. I mean, you just looked at it going, oh my gosh, this could be very, very good.
What's the win total?
What'd you say?
What's the win total going to be?
I don't know.
It's the largest one season to the next jump in win total in a long time. What was it last year? Like 44 or something like that?
Yeah. I think 40, 44 and a half, 42 and a half, 44 and a half, one of those. But yeah, the expectations are incredibly high. And I think this is the best team we've had in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Hartenstein and Caruso already have good chemistry. You're going to have to iron out, some of the kinks, right? I understand that, but I'm just really excited. I mean, Shea and Dort didn't even play in this game. They're playing tonight. So I can't wait to just see how Shea looks, but it's going to be such a fun season to be a Thunder fan. Let's go.
Let's go. Looking forward to it.
Regular season starts in a couple weeks, Ted. Hope you're ready for some more Thunder talk on here.
Championship or bust?
I don't know about that, but
what do you mean you don't know about that?
I think for me, you got to make the Western Conference Finals.
Okay.
You make the Western Conference Finals, and then let's see. You never know what's going to happen, right? Maybe another team is just playing incredible basketball, but that's my expectation, is that this team makes the Western Conference Finals. It's really, really hard to make the Western Conference Finals.
I know it.
They're still one of the younger teams in the league. So
you need to buy in, is what it sounds like to me.
Oh, hush. I'm bought in. I just watched every second of a preseason game, bud.
That's true.
And then watched the highlights in bed after, like a complete psycho.
Went back over your notes?
Yeah. Cross-referencing, making sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, my loser of the week. Time to get serious. Dude, Kirby Smart. So, excellent football coach, best coach in college football. A bad sequence of events, though, for Kirby Smart over the last few days. Let me explain. They beat Auburn on Saturday. And after the game, Kirby played a card that head coaches do not like to play. Or they are very, very calculated when they play it. He called out the fans on their radio broadcast. And here's the quote. To be honest, I'm probably disappointed in our fans for the first time. I thought there was a lack of really affecting the game, crowd noise-wise, passion, and energy. He's not a dumb guy. He knew what was going to happen after he said that. And on Monday, he doubled down. He said he stood by what he said after the game. He called his fans out for being too quiet. It undoubtedly got the attention of all Georgia fans. When you are publicly challenged by your head coach, that's not a good feeling, but it kind of inspires you. I'm sure there are a couple out there that said, hey, coach, how about you just worry about coaching and you let us worry about being the fans?
Right.
But Georgia has Mississippi State this weekend. They're going to roll them. But the story going into that game was going to be, Kirby called us out. Let's show them what we got. Let's prove a point. That is what was going to be the storyline heading into the game until Tuesday morning happened. Ted, what would you say is the one thing people can point to about Georgia under Kirby Smart and say, that's a problem, that's an issue?
They've had the off-field stuff, man, and it's been piling up, and it's not small stuff.
They've had all the driving stuff. Had a player and a staffer die as a result of one of those situations. Those situations somehow have continued. And now, wide receiver Colby Young was arrested on Tuesday on misdemeanor charges of battery and assault of an unborn child. And when you read that, not good. Now, you are innocent until proven guilty in this country. Colby Young's attorney said he didn't touch his ex-girlfriend who came to his apartment. All he did was ask her to leave. The ex-girlfriend tells a very, very different story. I'm going to let the authorities work that out. I'm going to let the, legal system run its course there. But you call your fans out for not creating a big-time home environment, and then a couple days later, one of these things happens again. And the fans are going, hey, bud, how about you worry about your guys and keep them from getting arrested and worry less about us and how much we're making noise? That's just not good timing for Kirby Smart. It was not a great sequence of events. Ted,
Well,
he played the you guys need to be better fans card. And then the one thing that's been a problem under him showed up right after he played the card. It's very bad timing.
well, he also played the card, and then because it was right after the game, he said it, right?
Yeah.
He played the card, and then everyone went home and watched the team they just got beat by lose to Vanderbilt, right? So, add that to the mix.
True. Played the card. Bama loses to Vandy. Another player arrested.
Whew.
Not ideal. I still
Yeah.
think he's an incredible football coach. I have to imagine him and his staff and the entire support system around Georgia has poured a ton of time and effort into trying to tell their guys to make good decisions.
Yeah.
But these things keep happening, man. It's weird. It's strange.
Tough, man. And the thing is it's almost healthier to have a reset after 2 or 3 years. Just a reset, reset everyone's clock as to what's acceptable, what's not, because to keep the level of winning as high as it's been for Georgia, for Alabama, it gets very difficult up there. It gets very, very difficult. There's a lot of pressure on everyone, and I don't know. It's kind of a recipe for disaster to some degree. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to do.
Not a great start to the week for Kirby.
No.
He'll feel better when they destroy Mississippi State, but
It could be worse. It could have. I mean, they could have been playing. I don't know, whoever this week.
Huh?
Mississippi State.
I think we'll be fine. But just a bad sequence.
Here's the thing though. It is starting to be called out. I mean, people have said, "Hey, I think you got to watch something here with Georgia," but you're seeing the articles pop up about how he needs to get a handle on his program.
I think that's very fair to say at this point. And he's kicked guys off the team, but they got to figure it out, man.
Yep.
This is happening with too many of their players.
I agree.
Birthday shout outs. Happy second birthday to Otto Morris.
Happy 6th birthday to Asher Cole Clopton.
Happy 9th birthday to Ryland Kintner.
Happy 14th birthday to Christian Coulter.
Happy 24th birthday to Daniel Paul Ewald. Ewald.
Happy 30th birthday to Jansen.
Look at you, not even getting a last name.
Yeah.
Lucky. Happy 36th birthday to Megan Sauerwald.
Happy 38th birthday to Logan Morris.
You think I got Sauerwald?
Yeah.
Sauerwald? Sour. Okay.
Sauerwald.
Happy birthday, Megan. On that note, episode 464 in the books. This was a thick one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Enjoy the weekend. It's the best weekend of the year, people. We'll have a new podcast that'll drop Sunday. Really hope we're having fun on that podcast, Ed.
We're going to be partying.
Just a reminder, please subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. And until next time, we appreciate y'all for listening. Do we always do, Oklahoma? Take care of each other.